When the lines of Steve Kivett's parachutes became entangled during a practice stunt dive, it became impossible for him to cut away a small chute and open his main one. Steve was hurtling towards the ground, out of control, at more than 50 miles an hour.
Someone called for an ambulance, while Angie and the others rushed toward the area where Steve was headed.
Hello, I'm calling from the Frankfurt Municipal Airport. We have a skydiving accident off of the airport. We believe
There was no way of knowing exactly where Steve would land, but the Frankfurt Fire Department immediately dispatched rescue units toward the airport.
east of the airport on Route 28.
After the top two-thirds of the skydive has gone by and nothing has changed, I'm now hoping that he finds some way to get his reserve out. That has to be the next option. And just as I thought that, he better get his reserve out now, I begin to see the red fabric coming off. But it doesn't catch air, it doesn't inflate. And then it really started to sink in. That's when it really started to hit me that, my God, he's going to have to land with this small parachute. And I had no reason to think that he could live through that.
I know what a bounce is. I've never, thank God, witnessed one, but there's no way. There's no way on God's earth a person survives that.
Oh, man. You gotta get rid of it, Steve. I was screaming on the way down, just yelling to him, get rid of it, Steve, get rid of it.
At a car dealership down below, Ken Peters had just happened to stop by to look around, even though the lot was closed.
I began to hear voices, but I couldn't really tell audibly what they were saying. So I looked from side to side, couldn't see anybody, but then I just happened to glance up, and I could see two parachutists. The one, judging from the size of the parachute that he was coming down on, he was really in trouble. I kind of hated what I was going to see, but I knew that if there was any chance that I had to do something.
I have another 20, 30 seconds to spiral down, during which time I'm thinking, what am I going to find? When I get to him, what am I going to see? Am I going to see my best buddy in a crumpled heap?
Is he all right? Is he alive? Is he breathing? Don't move.
I said, you get out to the highway and tell the ambulance where to turn.
Great. The ambulance has been called. Get out on the highway and tell them where to turn in so they can find us. Steve.
When I got to him, I can't believe it, but he's alive.
Keep breathing, buddy.
I started yelling, Steve, stay with me. Work on it. Fight it, brother. Stay with me.
Among the rescuers who treated Steve at the scene was EMT Richard Sheets.
I remember thinking there's going to be a very slim chance of this person is surviving a fall from 8,000 feet. He had some minimal bleeding through his ears and nose and mouth, but he was conscious and able to talk to us. I was very surprised.
Be fine, Steve. Where do you hurt, Steve? Just try to relax.
Angie and the others spotted the flashing lights of the emergency vehicles at the car lot.
And we looked over there, and I saw blood trickling out of Steve's mouth, and I just thought, there's no way. He hadn't moved at that time or spoken. And then I heard him say, where's Angie? And so I ran over there, and he looks up and says, hi, baby, of all things. And I wanted to touch him so bad, but I didn't know where I could, what I could touch. And the paramedic said you could hold his hand.
Steve was rushed to Clinton County Hospital, where he was examined by Dr. Janine Milet.
He had injuries everywhere, from head on down. He had breaks in his jaw. He had bleeding into his head. He had breaks in his chest, his ribs, his hip, his ankles. So he really sustained injury everywhere, his entire body.
Angie was at the hospital night and day as Steve slowly recovered. He still faced months of grueling physical therapy, but after 6 weeks, he was released from the hospital.
The emergency personnel that brought him in were key in making sure that this gentleman survived. One thing it probably did teach me was how much a body could take and still survive. I was very surprised.
How high do you want to go?
I'm going it. I had thought I was going to die before, but I was never as definite sure as this time. I jumped out of the plane, everything seemed pretty much normal. But as I came out, all the lines entangled, which I didn't know at the time. And then I just threw that little parachute. And that's where all the entanglement started. And you've only got a matter of seconds before you know you're in the index. You know that book is over. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know that you're gonna die, that you just can't change it.
But Steve managed to survive in part because he knew how to land so that the impact was spread over his entire body.
And I thought, you're hurt, but you are alive. I kept thinking, I cannot believe I have lived through this. That would have been the thing I wanted to say to everybody that walked up. Can you believe I just lived through that? Can you believe I just lived through that? Amazing.
To me, there's only one reason. Steve's sense of survival. He could have just gave up and laid there, and that's been it. But he fought. He fought.
A year and a half after the accident, Steve Kivett and Angie Sellers were married.
After I started skydiving again, I thought, my goodness, people should never desert their dreams. I really do get to fly.
Next.
This suspect had a total disregard for his life and for the life of the officers involved.